Think of a combine harvester, and it's easy to conjure up images of open rolling landscapes with great powerful machines majestically sweeping over the horizon. For some, such a picture could be a source of artistic stimulation, and for one West Country-based band, the combine harvester was not only an inspiration, but also a gateway to the #1 spot in the British pop chart. The famous "I got a brand new combine harvester and I'll give you the key," courtesy of the Wurzels, charted for a staggering 13 weeks. OK, so it didn't go down as a rock classic, but back in 1976, it certainly hit all the right notes appealing to the whole nation. The combine harvester proved to be very good news indeed for the Wurzels, but for the rest of the world, and farmers in particular, it's become the very lifeblood of the industry. Agriculture is as old as time itself, remaining an integral part of society for over 10,000 years. And throughout this period, harvest time has marked the peak of activity for farmers everywhere. But in more recent history, the picturesque scenes of this important seasonal way of life have witnessed a dramatic transformation, with the advent of the combine harvester being of major significance. Today, the combine, as it's fondly abbreviated, is a highly sophisticated piece of equipment and plays an essential role meeting the demands of worldwide food production, which is just as well when we consider the back-breaking toil that was once the lot of the farm labourer. Fortunately, for the modern-day farmer, technology has advanced greatly, and with the luxury and comfort of an air-conditioned cab, a whole field can be ploughed or harvested in a fraction of the time it would have taken using more primitive methods. As we all now know, the Deere name was destined for success in the combine harvester market, and today graces the most technically advanced machines. The Deere company first entered the tractor business in 1918, producing its first self-propelled combine harvester by the early 1950s. The story of John Deere echoes the determination of all who travelled west, but more relevantly, it illustrates how the seemingly simple inventions of the past sparked a continual journey of mechanical advancement. Of course, there are other influential figures and important landmarks of this movement that can't be overlooked. To take a peek into the lives of our next pioneering characters leads us to the city of Chicago. This was the first city of the Great Plains and took less than half a century to establish from the first villages of the agrarian settlers. One man, named William Ogden, played a large part in building up the city and relished in the thought that prairie agriculture could become a very prosperous affair. He was not the only one who decided it was time to really shake up the development of mechanisation, and in Cyrus McCormick he saw the key. McCormick first developed his grain reaper back in Virginia, patenting his invention in 1834. Ogden invited McCormick to Chicago, where the reaper was quick to catch on. Although it could do the work of 4 or 5 men, it only required the work of 2, one man to steer the horse and one to rake the grain from the platform. A labour-saving device such as this was soon in high demand and assured success for the McCormick business. Such advances were truly underpinning a technological revolution, and Jerome Increase Case was another figure who helped to define the process. As a boy, he'd read an article in a newspaper about a new machine that could replace threshing by hand. Case went on to test his own thoughts of how the threshing process could be mechanised. You need only learn of the nickname people gave him, the Threshing Machine King, to establish how successful he was to become. We mustn't forget, though, that long before Jerome Case had made his fortune, the first decisive breakthrough for the threshing process had already taken place with Andrew Michael's 1784 invention. Was Michael's thresher the machine in the article that Case had found his own inspiration from? Like many of his kind, Case took great pride and care in his work, and went to great lengths to ensure that only the best was produced under his name. When Case heard that one of his threshing machines had broken down on a farm in Minnesota, he travelled miles to investigate the situation for himself. His presence attracted a crowd who hovered as he carefully inspected the machine, and they waited with bated breath to see what would happen. The group of spectators were not expecting a bonfire, but this is what they got. Unable to work out the problem, Case, who could not bear the thought that a faulty machine had left his factory, decided to burn the machine to the ground. By the very next day, a brand new Case threshing machine had arrived on the farmer's doorstep. The world of mechanised harvesting had now surely been opened, and the precepts for the combine harvester had all been set. The next challenge was to unite all the harvesting processes into one machine. There were various attempts during the experimental stages of the mission, and to define one single pioneering character would seem unfair, as many agricultural innovators contributed to the combine's evolution. But one man that many regard as the father of the combine harvester is Hiram Moore. Word has it, although no physical evidence remains to prove it, that Moore had devised a travelling machine that could cut, thresh and bag the grain in a continual process. Reaching 10 feet in height and needing 20 horses to pull, the bulky machine was full of promise, albeit very heavy and awkward to turn. Sadly for Moore, he was beat to the post and became one of the group of innovators who'd had the same idea. As harvesting machines became bigger and better, the need for more power grew too. Huge teams of horses, sometimes as many as 40, would be required to drive the combination of large and heavy harvesting implements up and down the Great Prairies. Such an elaborate method was a remarkable sight, but the heavy burden wasn't best suited to the areas where thick and sticky soil clung onto the wheels, making them sink. The teams of horses also needed to be fed and watered, and this was no easy or cheap matter if you had a whole colony. The need for a self-propelled harvesting machine couldn't have been stronger. Would the solution lie in the discoveries and inventions that followed?
This is a nice bright morning on the outskirts of Rotherham. We've just come to cut this field which we've been waiting to get cut for a couple of weeks now. It's been atrocious weather this summer, which is drying nicely now. The tractor will be here any minute to start. This is a new John Deere 6.9 front linkage, as you can see, for doing front work. It comes into the field, he's using the new class mowing machine. It is a mower conditioner, this machine. 10-foot cut, and he'll be getting off in a minute just to set the machine up. That's a safety guard to stop it dropping down on the road. Flip that back, stop it going anywhere, and off he goes. The tractor he's using is 130 horsepower, John Deere. These John Deeres are very reliable tractors, we think so anyway. Keep them for about 3 to 4 years and move on to a newer machine. This is a 10-foot cut machine. In the olden days you'd be cutting with 4 to 5 foot at most. You couldn't travel like this in the olden days. Very steady job. The driver of this machine is my brother's son. We're in partnership, me and my brother. This is his son Andrew. He worked for us for 3 or 4 years now, from leaving school. We've had the farm for roughly, we took over say 20 years ago. There's just 3 of us running this farm with about 400 acre. This machine will cut roughly 400 or 500, maybe more in a good season, 400 or 500 acre in a good season. It'll be used nearly every day for a fortnight. Here we have a Buick cab, hydro shift gears, quite simple to use, forward and straight into reverse and you're going backwards. Drive, as you can see, tractor. Go anywhere, uphill, down, down. Get a nice dust coming off, shows she's drying. That's the grass coming out of the conditioner, back of the machine. And there you have nearly a finished field. This field will be left for 2 or 3 days at the most, spread, rolled back up, baled and taken away to be stored for winter feed for the horses. Just coming out of the field, lifting the machine up, waiting for the next one to arrive for another phase. This is an 8 acre field he's just mowing. Cut this in just under an hour. You see, no time at all. This is another member of the team, my brother Stuart. He drives the combine. Just come in to cut this piece of rape, taking the head and cutter bar off the back of the combine. He's now moving round, getting in line to put the cutter bar on. Simple operation this. And lower her down, lower the front down and she'll be away. This is a 20-foot cutter bar he's putting on. This is a new machine this season, class Lexion 420. power drive take-off on. Simple, that's on. Now the electrics. This is the brains to the machine. That's connected on. That's a side knife. Rape is a tandle crop. You need a side knife to get a nice straight cut. This is oil-free rape we're cutting. Used for cooking, cooking oil, margarines, that sort of thing. See it comes through the chopper at the back. This is the waste, which is chopped and spread and ploughed back in. It's a very dense crop rape. The lines you can see are tram lines, which are from when the tractor's spraying the crop for disease and insects. Have your wits about you when you're cutting rape. Can't see a thing. So the lines look straight down the field, called tram lines. When we spray this crop, it will have a 80-foot boom sprayers on it. All fingertip control on his right hand side. They can see it. Just use his thumb to control the machine. Power steering. You find very little goes wrong with this machine. These class machines, we like them. He'll cut, best we've ever done, 60 acre in one day. More in wheat, we can cut 80 acre in wheat. When he's been through with this machine, there'll be nothing left, no to be chopped up, ready for the plough. You get a lot less weight with rape per acre. If it's a good crop, you only get a tonne of rape, where you can get 4 to 5 tonne of wheat to the acre. So it takes a lot longer to fill the trailer. The tank on this combine will hold about 4 tonne of rape. The trailer will hold 12 tonne, so we can get 3 tanks for one trailer, then he's off. Chopper coming into gear again. As you can see, it's light dust, very small particles left, no long stuff. Here's a traction trailer, come for his first tankful of rape. That tractor is 100 horsepower. This is the auger coming out, straight into the trailer. This seed's never touched by hand. myself on the tractor, very dusty. And rape will find the least little hole to run out of. Everything's got to be taped up, no holes anywhere, else it's gone. Time you get back to the farm, it's away, you've lost it. It's a tricky operation, this. You've got to keep your eye on the job. That's a Triffid trailer. No holes in that. And that's your rapeseed. As you can see, it runs like water. And if one stops and the other doesn't, you've got a disaster. There'll be 12 ton in that trailer when it's full. Folding the machine up, and off I'm going to the store, and he's carrying on. Take this to the store, test it. It wants to be about 9% in moisture for rape. Any more than 9% and the corn people won't take it, or they deduct. So any more than 9% and it'll have to go through the dryer. As I was saying, rape runs like water. If we put too much on this load, pile it up too much, go round the corner a bit sharpish, it'll be all over the road, and then very nasty for traffic to run on.
Here we are at the beginning of September and commencement of potato harvesting. The tractors seen here are two Case tractors constructed in Doncaster, belonging to Mr. Clayton. The entire ridge is being lifted, soil, potatoes and tops, and taking up the harvester, which is a Grimm or Grimmy machine made in Germany. This job's advanced a long way since the days when potatoes were spun out and picked by school children in the half-term holiday, which used to be known as the potato picking holiday. The job is now undertaken by a few men and sophisticated machinery. The whole ridge is lifted. The soil drops through the web here, potatoes are carried up onto the operating table, where any additional stone and clod are removed. The crop is then conveyed into the trailer travelling alongside. This job requires skill and concentration by the tractor driver pulling the trailer alongside, who has to keep a close watch on the elevator which are dropping the potatoes into his trailer and ensure a full load without damage to the potatoes. Inside the operator's canopy, any remaining clods and stones are picked from the web and returned to the floor via shoes, thereby ensuring that the crop entering store is as clean as possible. The potato ridge will have been separated of stones and clods at planting, which means that 2 men can do the job of cleaning the crop before it enters the trailer a lot more easily than used to be the case. A series of brushes at this stage of the machine help to remove soil from the crop to ensure it's stored in as clean a condition as possible. Any rubbish is disposed of down the chute and returned to the ground below. The basket on the end of the elevator seen here cushions the drop from the end of the elevator and the heap of potatoes in the trailer. This minimises bruising, which in turn reduces the number of unsaleable potatoes which will come out of store later in the year. And here a load is seen leaving the field on its way to the store. Where it will end up either roasted, chipped, or if you like it, mashed.
My grandfather bought the first class combine in the 50s, and we have never had anything else but class. We seem to know a little bit about them, and I like the machinery. I've had no fallouts with them, and I think it's reliable. When you climb into the cab, all the controls are there at the side of you. You don't have to run up and down the ladders. If you want a slight adjustment, you can do it from the cab and keep on the move all the time. You wasted no time. You were just getting the harvest in as quickly as possible. I wasn't interested in the farming until I left school, and then there was a time in my life when I thought, well, we've got to do something, and I just asked Father if there was a job, and he said yes, and I just started work here, and I've been here ever since. And the job is getting interesting with modern machinery building up as it is. We're harvesting the peas on a nice dry day. I grow these mainly for sale, but I keep some back for my own cattle protein, pedigree herd of Charolais, and I save all the pea straw to bale for winter fodder, which the cattle enjoy, and it's cheap fodder. This is an ex-demo tractor I bought this time, an MX 135 case, and on the back you see a class round baler baling the pea home for cattle fodder. You finish cutting the peas and then get it all baled up in the same day. In good going, in wheat straw or barley straw, you can get up to baling 30 bales an hour. In pea straw, it's, with it not being so dense, probably 10 bales an hour. The bales will weigh around about 700 weight. Nice perfect round bale. Less handling, less labour. It's a one-man job. Here we are with the barley. It's the beginning of August. The barley was cut round about 16%. A nice day. The field was 26 acres. We was in about 10 o'clock and finished round about 6:30 in the evening. There's two trailers running back to the farm, one tractor, he'll be tipping one into a grain store, so 1 in 3 rounds I have to stop and empty the grain tank into the trailer that stood. He'll come back and hopefully we will be running under the combine to keep it going. The grain tank on the combine holds 5 tonnes and it takes about 2.5 minutes to empty. The first combine I ever drove was a Class Matador Standard 8'6" cut, where the combine you see now is a 204, a 17-foot cut. On this one we have a cab, power steering, quiet. The other one was in the dust all day, and oh, it's lovely. We bought this combine this time because I had a Dominator 106 which the mechanic came out and he said, "Mr. Wheelhouse, the combine is getting very tired, it's going to cost a fortune to repair." So then I thought we either spend a lot of money on an old combine or we spend money on replacing. I went to have a look at this one up on the East Coast. I thought, yes. I went up one Sunday morning, the man took me round it, and one thing or there was a choice of 2, and I thought with the hills that we've got round here I'd have the one with the bigger engine for extra power. And I thought, yes, this is the one for me. I think my father saw more changes in agriculture than what I would have done, and if he'd have seen this machine now, I think I wouldn't have been driving it, but my father. He was a man for modernisation and keep going forward. As you can see later on in the film, where we tipped the grain, he put the sheds up in late 60s, early 70s, but now the sheds aren't high enough for the modern trailers to tip. We have to watch when we're tipping the trailers so we don't go through the roof. When you're running and emptying on the move, it's a very skilled job. You're not just watching the debris and everything going into the machine, you have to have one eye on the trailer and to see what the student's doing. I've told him to turn the radio off and concentrate on what he's doing. It's a very skilled job. The barley yield this year would have done just over 2 tonnes an acre, and we cut round about 95 acres of winter barley this summer. The pre-store here before it goes into the dryer, because the dryer cannot take the volume of corn for what the combine will send home. This is my favourite bit, when you see the trailers coming into the yard and getting all into the store. And the young lads of today, university or not, they dress like farmers, don't they? You see here a forklift. You need modern machinery today to deal with the work, and you just can't get a modern harvest today in without modern machinery. You can't rely on the weather. You have to pick your days when you go, and then when you go, you hope that a lot is going to come home. This is a forklift we got in January. There again for reliability. For me, when we're sowing corn and I have a ton bag above my head, undoing it into the corn drill, I want something safe. This trailer you see backing into the store will hold 14 tonne of wheat, and the first trailer that I ever can remember when I first started work held 3 tonne. So lots of running about with the old ones and not so much with the new. As you can see, my university student opened the back door, and I have told him to watch when tipping the trailers that we don't go through the roof. And as you can see, he is trying to be observant. Probably the tractor cab is not the best in the world to see all this, but to this day we haven't had one go through. Once he's empty, off he goes again, back to the field, for another one.
Harry Ferguson, with an Irish farming background, was a great innovator in the field of attachable implements, and even teamed up with Henry Ford himself for a while. The tractor, pulley-type method of harvesting remains to this day, and is a very convenient way of utilising one tractor for many different purposes. Later, Ferguson amalgamated his ideas with Massey Harris, and they manufactured a line of well-acclaimed tractors and machinery under the Massey Ferguson name, which has become significant in the combine harvester market. Europe began to excel in ideas of mechanical harvesting, and producers investigated how the machines could be made more suitable to the home climate and terrain. The University of Bonn even called upon makers to pursue such a task, as they foresaw the enormous economical potential that a successful venture of this type could have. August Claas, a German manufacturer, got straight to work, being one of the first to create a combine harvester specifically for European conditions. The Claas company developed its first pull-along combine in the 1930s, known as the Mardresk binder. Later, in 1952, Claas unveiled his first self-propelled combine prototype, and mass production soon followed. The increased mechanisation quickly left its imprint on the landscape. Between 1945 and 1991, 50% of Britain's hedgerows had been removed in order to make room for the large-scale machines that were now taking over the countryside. Currently, noted makers of the combine harvester include the familiar names John Deere, Case IH, Claas, Massey Ferguson and New Holland. Like the other successful and reputable producers of today, New Holland originated from the time of the American pioneers in the Midwest. New Holland was responsible for a significant innovation in hay harvesting technology when it launched its Haybine mower conditioner in 1964. The company has been a strong presence in European agricultural machinery ever since. The deep and dynamic story behind the combine harvester has certainly revealed a colourful past, but let's now step away from the realms of history and get to the fine details of the subject. What actually goes on inside one of these machines? Its robust appearance may reflect its power and stamina, but inside is an intricate maze of processes ensuring that the highest quality of harvesting takes place at all times. Here we can see a fine specimen of the famous Class Combine series going dutifully about its day's preparations. A familiar sight to all you ex-Harvester drivers. The Dominator range is one of the most successful in all of Europe, and it's been on sale worldwide for over 25 years. As we already know, the basic principle of the combine harvester is revealed simply by its name, as it combines all the processes of harvesting into one machine. The crop is drawn in over a cutter bar by a large rotating reel, and after the blades swiftly cut the corn, it's transported inside the machine over an elevator mechanism. The moving belts take the load to a cylinder where the threshing takes place. The individual kernels are stripped from the heads by cylinder bars on a rapidly rotating drum, and a stationary concave leaving the remaining straw to be transported over shakers so that any residual or unseparated grain can be sent back to the threshing cylinder. After the threshing, the grain that's been successfully removed continues its journey over a series of sieves and fan-powered air blasts. The bursts of air drive out the chaff as the grain filters down onto an elevator that runs diagonally through the combine. With the process being continual, the grain starts to accumulate in a central tank until it can be dispatched. The grain is transported through a pipe and into a towed trailer that accompanies the combine on its way. Harvester workers also have the important task of testing the moisture levels of their grain. This digital unimeter is easy to use and gives excellent accuracy. A small sample of the grain is loaded into a compression cell where an electrical current measures the electrical resistance of the sample from which the moisture content is determined. Some testers have an inbuilt grain temperature compensation device. This mechanism accounts for the variable grain temperature that can affect the moisture readings. Some measuring apparatus do this automatically, and others require that you press a button. Alternatively, the grain temperature is measured separately, and then the moisture reading is adjusted accordingly. Measuring the moisture is vital for maintaining a healthy grain market. It not only determines the intensity of the drying process to reach an optimum moisture content, but it also predicts how long the grain can be stored before deterioration. It also allows for the water content to be taken into account during the selling period, so that buyers don't end up paying an expensive price for a few tons of water. Before the first advanced combine harvester had come onto the farming scene, the crop would be left to dry out over stacks in the barn. Or, when the weather permitted, the bundles would be arranged into stooks to allow the air to circulate through the crop and let the sun work its natural magic. The stooks were usually made up of 5 or 6 bundles, and very often it was a competition to see who could stook the most in one day. This natural drying process meant that threshing took place at a later date. However, with the advent of the combine and its simultaneous cutting and threshing processes, artificial grain dryers are now used. Its ability to adapt to a whole range of crops demonstrates the versatility of the combine harvester, which is an essential quality if the needs of the world's food market are to be met. Soybeans, winter wheat and alfalfa have become other significant crops on the vast corn belt of the American plains, directly influencing the increasing repertoire of the combine harvester's specifications. With the convenience of interchangeable heads, the combine can be equipped to harvest legumes in the morning and wheat in the afternoon of the very same day. The grain platform, as it's often referred to, is the standard combine head fitting, suitable for harvesting most crops. Wheat or draper heads are very similar, but the rotating reel doesn't have any metal or plastic teeth as the standard heads do. The standard grain platform can be used for harvesting corn, but usually a more specialised head is used that strips the stalk and leaf away from the ear so that less material and debris reach the threshing cylinder. This further increases efficiency and quality. From inside the cab, the driver is offered a panoramic view of the surrounding country landscape, and all the advanced ergonomic designs will certainly help to make for a comfortable day's work. You'll even find a refrigerator under the seats in some combines, although the times of traditional harvest cider drinking out in the fields are long gone, and a bottle of chilled water is a more likely find. Harvesting was once a dawn-to-dusk activity, but now it can continue right around the clock thanks to the powerful illumination of the headlamps. Owing to variable weather conditions, there's only a few days of the year for grain to be harvested at an optimum level, so nighttime working can take full advantage of the occasions when the weather is good. Fine-tuning of the machine settings can be made from the controls in the cabin, down to things such as the threshing cylinder and air blast speeds, through to the width of the sieve openings. Some combine harvesters can also cope with the more tricky sloping fields of the country by automatically adjusting to ensure the interior processes are carried out in the same even and level way. Harvesting can be quite a dusty affair, and although the driver is well protected by the slightly pressurised air in the cabin, that prevents any dirt getting in, the outside of the combine can need a good dusting off at the end of the day. Not only has the agricultural industry taken to the web, where farmers can arrange machinery swaps and seek advice, but it has also entered into the latest space-age technology, incorporating the use of Earth-orbiting satellites in a global positioning system, otherwise known as GPS. Radio signals are transmitted back down to Earth, where GPS receivers absorb the information sent from beyond the Earth's atmosphere, enabling farm owners to judge the ploughing and harvesting needs of their land. GPS technology is then used to guide the application of fertilizer and harvesting equipment, and can be an extremely useful device when managing vast agricultural regions such as the Corn Belt. It's quite frightening to imagine where we'd be without the combine harvester and its technological sophistication. Just consider the fact that corn still provides more food for people than any other harvested product in the world. About 4,000 of the products in a typical supermarket contain corn or one of its byproducts. Technology has come such a long way that it's almost impossible to determine what the next step up will be. The combine harvester has moved mountains in areas of world food production and efficiency. A combine can harvest enough wheat to make about 70 loaves of bread in less than 10 seconds. But what will the new generation of innovators come up with next? Ideas for a robotic sheepdog have already been laid down. Could we be approaching an age where robots will roam loose through our countryside? But as we watch a state-of-the-art combine harvester sweep across the landscape with such ease and grace, is there really any more room for improvement? We've seen how great advances have been made, ever-increasing yields, cutting time and eliminating waste. But even with space-age technology, mod-cons and gadgets of today, the main ideas that lie within the creation of this wondrous machine have been around literally for donkey's years. I'm sure Andrew Michael and the other pioneers of the past would revel in delight if they could see how their innovative work has led the way to this altogether swift, efficient and powerful machine that is the combine harvester.